Hey gardeners, my name is Michael Shorts, a Colorado master gardener living in the wonderful Front Range. In this video, my beautiful wife Lisa will show you how to care and feed your orchids.
Here is the typical scenario I hear about orchids. Someone gives you an orchid as a gift, and it's beautiful, and you're so appreciative. Then terror strikes, and all you can think is, I hope I can keep it alive. Well, that's what I'm going to help you with today. Now, there are many different kinds of orchids. Today, we're only going to talk about Phalaenopsis orchids. These are orchids with large oval-shaped leaves, and they grow in a single stalk. This is the one you're most likely to find at your grocery store, big box store, or even a nursery. One of the mistakes I find many people make is putting their orchid in a dark location, such as this, in order to brighten it up. However, there's no natural sunlight in this room and your orchid won't thrive. So I recommend putting something else in this location. Let's talk about the proper environment for growing your orchids. Orchids are tropical plants, so try to imagine them growing on the side of a tree in Hawaii or another tropical place you've been. What are the elements that they would like? Well, first of all, bright light, and lots of it. I grow my orchids in a sunny room, but you'll notice they're not next to the window. That's too much direct sunlight and they could get sunburned. The other things they like are humidity, so we run a humidifier in our sunroom, and also lots of fresh air. So I also have an overhead fan gently running all the time. It's no surprise that orchids like warm temperatures. So try to keep your orchid in a range between 55 and 90 degrees at all time. Also, don't expose them to extreme temperatures, such as don't place them in front of an air conditioning or a heating unit. If that happens, oftentimes they drop all of their buds without even blooming. And of course, that makes all of us sad. Next, we're going to talk about how to water your orchid. How you water your orchid is crucial to your success and the health of your orchid. So let's start with, when do you water your orchid? I don't have a set schedule for any of my orchids, but I can tell when I pick up the pot and it feels light to me. When it's wet, it'll feel a little bit heavier. A very important thing is how not to water your orchid. You don't want to water it like a normal house plant where you take a pot of water and you just pour it over the top. What's going to happen, the water will run through the medium very quickly. It probably won't saturate all the roots. And then water is going to sit in the bottom of the pot and the roots are going to rot. And your orchid will not be happy with that. So I'm going to show you what I do. I take it to the sink, take the plastic pot out of the decorative one, and I'm going to run water over it for 30 to 40 seconds and make sure that everything in here is really well saturated. It's okay if you get some water on the leaves, they'll like that. Now, one thing I notice when I water my orchid is I can see the roots and they'll turn a nice, beautiful green color, so that means they're happy. Another thing I do every time I water is I take an orchid food and I dilute it based on the instructions, and I am just going to pour some of that on top of this. And I'm also going to let this run out and drain really well. Finally, it's important to make sure you never have standing water in the crown of your orchid. So I'm going to gently blow this water out. Great. And then return it back to its decorative potter. One other tip about watering your orchid is to make sure you use room temperature water. I know some people have great success watering their orchids using ice cubes. However, orchids are tropical plants, and they would never encounter an ice cube in their natural habitat. So I don't think they would appreciate it. Here are some signs that your orchid is actually doing well. You should have bright green leaves that are rather rigid, not leathery and floppy. Also, the new leaves should be larger than the previous ones. As you can see on this plant, they keep getting a little bit larger every time they come out. We all want flowers that last for a long time. If you find the right location and water and fertilize as directed, your orchid flowers can last for months. I had one last for 8 months. And if I can do it, so can you. Even if your orchid isn't blooming, it doesn't mean that it's not happy. Any growth on an orchid is good. whether it's new leaves, new roots, or the holy grail of all orchids, a new flower spike. Any growth is a sign that your orchid is happy and healthy. I also want to point out that it's okay for your orchid to drop 1 to 2 leaves per year. The leaves should drop from the bottom because these are the oldest leaves. They'll eventually dry up and just drop off. The newest leaves are always going to grow from the top. So don't worry about it dropping some old leaves. So follow these tips to keep your orchids growing for a long time.
If you like this kind of gardening content, be sure to like this video, subscribe to my channel, grab yourself an orchid, and you'll have happy gardening.